Tournaments are officially back and we got to answer a lot of questions. Who is Mr. Savage's new trio? Who is the best team on EU? NA, we had a lot of drama go down between Clix and Peterbot. I'll cover exactly what happened. And I want to talk about what is going on with this TPM and secure boot. How do you turn it on and do you need it for tournaments? Because this is going to grief a lot of players. You're going to want to pay attention to the very end if you play on PC, I promise you. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Before we talk about what happened between Pete and Clix and how NA went, I want to talk about EU because I focused a lot in yesterday's video about who Savage is playing with, and today we got the answers. Kind of. So Savage ended up queuing into the Eval Cup with Pink and Nebs, but as I predicted in my video, it was just as a fill. Pink and Nebs saying that Kiro isn't Div 1. He can't play in Div 1 tournaments right now because he got caught up in that whole stream snipe, disqualified, didn't get to play Heat's fiasco of last season, but he is their official trio. They want to play Div 2 with him this week, get him to Div 1, then he will be their official trio going forward. So there was two teams we had a keen eye on for Savage to potentially play with, or players involved in this one. So the original one was what was going on with Chap, Shark, and then Kiddo. Chap, Shark, and Kiddo didn't end up making finals after Chap, you know, kind of clickbaited people into saying he's playing with Savage and Shark. So there's a lot of people hoping potentially Chap, Shark, and Mr. Savage does end up happening. I'm not sure. A lot of people saying that Chap and Kiddo are way too close. They don't think that's going to happen. So we'll have to wait and see. And we got to look at who the official trio is for Panzer, and it is Panzer, Thomas HD, and Chris, like I talked about in my video. I was also correct. Mr. Savage gave some details on why he isn't playing with Panzer anymore, and the reason is Thomas doesn't want to play with Savage while he's streaming. He just doesn't want to play with a streamer. It's nothing against Mr. Savage. So Panzer given the choice between playing with Mr. Savage and a third on stream or Thomas HD and find another third off stream, he went with Thomas HD. So most likely we're not going to see Mr. Savage in that trio, even though again, they also didn't make finals, so they didn't perform very well either. But we now have official comms of who Mr. Savage's at least duo is for now, and it is going to be none other than Zandy, which is now sparking up a lot of people getting excited for a potential Zandy, Mr. Savage, and Shark. I think a lot of people just want to see Shark and Mr. Savage play together because they're loving the Shark storyline. 13-year-old Romanian demon absolutely popping off right now. They want to see him play with Shark, and at the same time, Shark was playing with a Zandy last season, so that was Zandy, Shark, and Zhu, and they were looking really good coming into Grands. I actually had them pick for top 10. Didn't quite end up the way that I wanted, unfortunately, but they were a solid trio that Mr. Savage could slot in with. So again, we don't have any evidence of that. People are getting very excited, but it is official. Mr. Savage is looking for one with Zandy. Now again, because both Zandy and Savage could play kind of IGL, Fragger, support, and any of those combinations, it's really hard to pick who their third is going to be. At this point, I don't know. It could end up being Kovacs or Uppal or some of the other solos that I talked about in yesterday's video that are potentially looking for trios, but we now at least have official confirmation that Savage has found at least one teammate. We did also get potentially a sad official confirmation that Savage and Mongrel will not be playing together. Savage did say on stream when explaining all of this, there is zero chance he plays with Mongrel again. They had their reasons for splitting up last season. Those reasons haven't really changed. Mongrel is locked in with Prism and Casper. He'll be playing the Div 1 tournament today as of you watching this video with Prism and Casper. So Savage is looking for one, and Mongrel has an official trio, which is a very, very strange turn of events for how this whole event's gone. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see who Savage goes live playing the Div 1 Cups with today. I did want to recap the EU finals a little bit before talking about NA, because since I couldn't watch the EU finals last week, this is my first time actually seeing these teams perform because I was having PC issues. We saw an insane performance from Pix, Dam, and Damus, who've been getting gassed up by a lot of people in the scene. Reeshub made a fantastic video on why Damus is such a good fighter. They only got one win, but they got 2 second places and a 7th place. They were playing phenomenal, coming out of pumped power. Their loot has been amazing, and they were looking absolutely stacked going into every endgame. So I really do have eyes on this Polish trio. I think they're taking a fair bit of the spotlight, in my opinion, from Seti, Hari, and Kami, the Polish trio are used to focusing on. But as I say that, Seti, Hari, Kami did get a 6 elim win as well in the finals. They also got a 6th place, a 23rd, and a 10th, so 2 good games. Then we had Turtle, Kylie, and Khan, who had a 10th, 1st, 19th, and 25th, so not as consistent as maybe some of the other teams, but they still got their win. They got their $1,200. And then we had Zabe, Asa, and Hen, which is so awesome seeing Hen back winning, earning in Chapter 6. He just came top 10 in the Mars Solo Cup, and now he's earned in a victory finals. I'm super excited to see if Hen keeps dominating in Chapter 6. I do want to give a special shout out to Loki. I think it's Mickle or Michael and Lucy. Again, Lucy, such an OG name, who came third, and second, as well as a 19th. So didn't get a win, but played extremely well. Now, there's obviously a big name team I'm not mentioning here. Vico Venoflixi unfortunately did not get a single victory out in the finals. They did get a 6th, 9th, 26th, and 8th. So 3 games inside the top 10s. Not terrible performance, but just not quite the wins and dominant performance a lot of people were hoping for EU's reigning FNCS champions. It is worth mentioning Veno, Vico, and Flixi ended up getting contested by Mallow Archie's team. I don't know too much about this team. They ended up contesting him in the last 2 games. So I don't know if that's going to be something we see going forward, or maybe just because it's a victory cup format, you may as well fight for the loot. And if you get Crime City, you can go on and win. But in an actual FNCS or, 6-game finals format, that's probably not the best strategy to do well. I don't know yet. It's creating some spicy storylines for potentially, our reigning champs at the best drop not to have as easy breezy of a season as a lot of people were expecting with the loot they were going to get. All right, moving on to NA. We got a bit of drama, but first I want to talk about what happened in the opens, because halfway through the tournament, basically everyone on NA Centrals of region got kicked out of their games, and it pretty much ruined the tournament. Everyone got kicked out midway through. Some teams like Clixes were still in the game and they got to play it out and basically just get free points, but for everyone else, they lost, games where they were right into endgame, got kicked out, got stuck in queue times for 20 minutes, couldn't play. Fortnite then eventually added 30 minutes onto the time, but in a format where you've only got 2 hours, 7 games, most people ran out of games anyway, so opens was a bit hard to judge. We did have some big teams miss out as a result. Vidil's team didn't end up making it through. Vidil is now in NA playing with Cooper and Sphinx. They did not make it through into the finals. Bolts' team just missed out by 1 placement, so it's kind of hard to judge these teams and, talk about their performance in opens when it was a very scuffed tournament. But we did still have our big teams make the finals, and finals is where sparks flew, and it was a very, very exciting tournament. Going into game 1, Clix's PC crashed, meaning him, Higgs, and Iomzo didn't get to play the first game. It ended up being won by Muzz, Curly, and Rise, who got a 10 elim win. And I want to talk about the rest of their placements: an 8 elim 4th, a 4 elim 2nd, and a 9 elim 3rd. So Muzz, Curly, and Rise, brand new trio, first tournament we've seen them together, and they are looking really, really good right now. I'm super excited to see this trio. I'm big fans of all of them, so I'm super happy to see they're dominating. The second game, when Clix actually did load in, they pulled out a 13 elim win and then backed it up with another 6 elim win. So Clix's team won 2 out of 2 in the finals. Vibes were high, everything was super exciting, and then going into game 4, things got a little bit weird. Going into this game, Peterbot crashed. He had the bug people were getting early in the tournament, which is super unfortunate. So Peterbot didn't load in. I assumed that meant that Poyo and Cold also didn't load in, which meant we were going to go through all 4 games of finals without Cold, Peterbot, and Poyo getting a win. They'd had a few rough games before this. I was watching in replays. Game 1, they were playing really well. They were going through endgame, and right as they went to go for a refresh on someone, Muzz, Rise, and Curly took their tops and took both 3 of them down. Wasn't a crazy bad play, just unlucky timing. It is what it is. But the next 2 games in a row, Pete's team actually went down, taking a mid-game fight on a mountain, just trying to get Surge and usually pushing teams around like they normally do, and they ended up just going down. So I think they were pretty frustrated already going into game 4. It wasn't really the performance a lot of people were expecting, especially after they dominated in the opens. They got a 41 kill win in the opens. Remember, this is only Div 1 players, so very, very solid lobbies. I've actually got that video on my React channel if you want to watch it at the end of this. But going into game 4, I think their vibes were shot. Peterbot doesn't load in, and Cold and Poyo make the interesting decision to go fight Clix, Higgs, and Iomzo at the black market at Magic Mosses as a duo. This didn't end particularly well. Clix's team ended up going down. We had Poyo go down as a result because they got third-partied, and then Clix had this to say.
Fight from down here, Clix.
There's no way.
Bro, come on, King, back, King. What? 30, 100. I'm on. 120. Kill him. He's one.
Wow.
The duo's getting in, by the way. They died. You can't shoot back, by the way.
Go. Who is this? Go, Chucks. Nice.
No, hey, bro.
You can't
all
shoot
good?
back on the bats.
It's
You
all
actually
good?
just have to pull your and reverse do it.
It's all good. It's all good. You gotta, you know, when you're salty, someone else is winning. There's only one thing to do, and that's ruin your own game. It's all good.
Clix was obviously frustrated with the way that Peterbot's team played it. Peterbot didn't load in. They had nothing to lose, so they just went and took down Clix, who was on the back of a hot streak with back-to-back wins. I get why Clix was so frustrated. I also want to point out, what was that fight? The baseball bats are just ridiculous. I didn't think they were going to be this good. I think pros are starting to realize that doing the quick attack ability isn't really that powerful, but doing the big swing ability over and over again is just unbelievably powerful. I don't know if Fortnite's going to do something about it. It didn't help. The third-party team rushed in with baseball bats and started doing the same thing. So Clix and Poyo's team both ended up going down anyway. So unfortunately, Clix's potential hat trick was stopped right there in the mid game. We ended up having game 4 won by Inact, Epic Whale, and Z-Link, who are competing on NA West, by the way. They are not going to be playing on NA Central. A lot of people were hoping a lot from Epic Whale last season. He ended up coming 4th. A lot of people hoping he would get his 7th FNCS title on the region, but alongside Inact, who was going to play with Reet until he decided to play on Central, and then Z-Link, who Whale was playing with last season, they're looking very, very good. Epic Whale could only play 2 games because he was affected by the crazy storms in Dallas. His power kept going off, but in the 2 games they got to play, they got an 8 elim third and a 9 elim win. For a team that's competing on NA West, that is a very, very dominant performance in an NA Central Eval Cup. We've got another chance to see some of the other big teams on the region. Kanata, Booger, and Threats got a 6th, 12th, 10th, and 2nd. It was the last game. They almost won it, but they went down to Epic Whale's team, who just had absolute god loadouts, like 4 Chug Jugs, 12 splashes on high ground. There was no stopping them, which does lead me into my next topic. We are seeing the return of heal-off metas. I don't know if it's just because it's the Victory Cup Finals, so obviously when elims aren't worth anything, people are holding onto their meds to try to get the win. I'm interested to see when elims are worth something, whether this keeps happening, but we're seeing how strong all the meds are in the game right now. Between the heal grenades, the gold splashes, and the chug jugs, and the fact that the best teams in the game can buy so many of them at the black markets, there is a huge amount of meds going into the end game, and it's leading to pretty much every game going to heal off. Of the 8 games today that I watched, 4 on EU, 4 on NA, every single one of them went to at least some kind of heal off, some of them going to a 7-way heal off. So interested to see whether Fortnite does anything about this. Potentially having the mobility added in the update coming up with the rocket drill might potentially change that a little bit, but right now we are getting heavy heal-offs whether we like it or not. Now, Cold, Peterbot, Poyo, obviously the other team people are going to ask about. Like I said, their first game was pretty solid, went down. Next 2 games, they went down the mid game, and then game 4, they decided to fight Clix, so we didn't get to see how well they performed, but last season, that wasn't really their forte either. Pete's team has never really dominated the Eval Cups. It was only last week when they got 2 wins in the finals that we started to think, okay, this team, maybe locking in, maybe practicing, playing a bit more serious for the Eval Cups, and then this finals, clearly not. So people are now already saying, oh man, Pete's been complaining the Cold's not grinding. They're going to drop him. The teams are going to go back. Pete's going to snake his way onto Clix's team now, which I think after how today went, almost definitely not happening. But with Peterbot, you never know. I can't really give my opinion. I never would have predicted that we'd see Pete, Poyo, and Cold, and we'd have 2 LAN teams split up. So I can't predict anything at this point. Pete has been mentioning a few times on different streams, he is getting frustrated at the lack of Cold playing. But Pete's been saying this for a couple seasons now. Pete was saying this last season. Look, he was frustrated that Cold wasn't playing enough, but while Cold's putting up the numbers he is, what can he do? While they're still dominating, it's working, and that's how Cold's always been. Cold has shown up for cash cups and even FNCS before, like level 1. Cold has never been a heavy grinder on the game. He's still just remained one of the best. Whether it's like, maybe it's the mentality, he keeps his brain like easy breezy. He's not super stressed about the game, so when he does perform, he can lock in and go crazy. But as long as they're putting up the numbers, Pete's happy. But if they do start to struggle, a lot of people are pointing towards this as an area of frustration where we might see another Peterbot snaking. Now, I have no idea what to predict. I can't say anything because how can you predict anything Peterbot's going to do after the track record we've had? But I wanted to point out some of the, conversations that are going around right now to see if anything arises over the next coming days. Let's be real though, this happened last season. They didn't make 2 eval finals and everyone said they were washed, they were terrible. Then they started dropping 40 and 50 bombs in the Div Cup the next day and everyone said they were gods again. So let's just chill and see how the Div Cups go and then we'll go from there. Last thing I wanted to talk about, because there is a lot of confusion, Fortnite has officially announced that you guys playing on PC need to enable TPM and secure boot to play in the tournaments going forward. This is part of their new cheater update. I made a whole video on it, but basically they are saying you now need these turned on if you want to play in the Div Cup today and the Solo Cash Cup in a few days. If you're playing in any of the tournaments for money, you need both these settings turned on. Now, both of these settings are usually turned on by default for most PCs. Unfortunately, I cannot make a guide video for you guys on how to do it because you have to access your BIOS, which is different for every PC. It's in a different spot, but Fortnite Competitive have made a guide on their blog post where it talks about how you can check if it's on, and I believe if you Google it, you'll be able to turn it on with relative ease. I know going into your BIOS is a little bit scary, but unless you guys have gone into your BIOS and changed things, most people it should be on by default. I'm sorry I can't help you guys more than that. I don't want to be the one giving you guys guides and then you ruin your PC and you come blame me, okay? I've never done PC tech support guide kind of videos, and I don't want to start now, but I'm letting you guys know you need to have it turned on. So go to the blog post. I'll link in the description down below. Check if you have it on. If you don't have it on, do some quick Googling. It's not too difficult. I believe in you. You can do it.